Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as we talk of interest in two players coming in from Sky Germany. Moises Caicedo, the Brighton midfielder, obviously playing for Ecuador at the moment in the World Cup, and Frimpong, who is a right back, who is also in the World Cup at the moment with the Netherlands. Both interest from Manchester United. We're talking about that. And we'll also be talking about, obviously, their latest Manchester United news around the takeover and who is the firm favourite to buy Manchester United and why. So lots to get into this morning. Hope you're doing well. Little bit weird doing a show at 10 o'clock, but we're back in the 10 o'clock slot now. Obviously, we had a week away from 10 o'clock, moving to 9 o'clock because of the World Cup games, but there is no more 10 o'clock games now. So we're back in our normal 10 a.m. UK time slot for the morning show with the morning news and the latest Manchester United news. And don't forget, 2 o'clock today, we've got Fabrizio Romano live on the show. We'll be going through all the latest transfer news with him, gathering information as it gathers pace around what might be happening in the January transfer window, specifically around Gakpo and that striker position. But yeah, I hope we're all doing very well. Let's fly straight into it. So Pellistri, we were speaking about him at the weekend, works for Sky Germany, based in Germany, Bundesliga journalist. I'm 34 today. Is it too early to get drunk? Says Harry. Depends what time it is where you live. But happy birthday, mate. Hope you have a good day. I was going to say something else about that then, but yeah, happy birthday will do, won't it? Happy birthday to Harry. And yeah, so let's just start off. I was going to start off with Caicedo, but I actually want to start off with the Frimpong story because I think it's more relevant. And Caicedo, I think, is more about the summer, and there's a lot of competition for him, which we'll talk about. So I want to talk about Frimpong. Obviously, plays right back for Leverkusen and is currently with the Dutch squad. Not played any game time, of course, for the Dutch squad, but a bit like Malacia. He's the backup fullback, isn't he? So he's not played any game time yet. But the story from Pellistri, the German journalist this morning, is that Frimpong will hold talks after the World Cup and is aware of interest from Manchester United, who describe him as a very interesting proposition. So yeah, I mean, Frimpong, I've got a video I'm going to do today actually about top 5 right-back propositions for Manchester United in January. Obviously, we spoke yesterday about the potential to bring Ethan Laird back from QPR. That is an option. I know not a lot of you were not particularly happy with that. But Frimpong is a player that fits into Manchester United's potential at right-back because I think with him, you get a player, and I forget how old he is. How old is Frimpong? So Frimpong is currently 21. So yeah, he does fit in quite nicely with the whole, what do you call it? The whole Malacia. The whole Malacia thing, whereby you could bring him in, and at 21 years of age, he can be an understudy to Dalot, just like Malacia is for Luke Shaw, and end up being a player that, works out reasonably well. Also, being Dutch is always going to be something that comes to mind. He's not coming towards the end of his contract, by the way. He's still got a few years left on his contract, but I do think he, as Jared says, Dutch FC, I think it could work. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if we were interested in him. My memory of Frimpong is that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because you do get mixed up by all the players that United are linked to that aren't actually Manchester United players, but my memory of Frimpong is that he's very, very quick and he's very, very good going forward, and therefore would suit what Ten Hag wants. And defensively, he's not terrible either. Says he's not like Malacia, though he'd want to start. And Trippier said the new ball is like a balloon, is absolute muppet. Well, if you know, you know. We knew about that for a while, didn't we? Yeah. So look, I think it'd be interesting. Do I think Man United will go for Frimpong in January? I think if you're gonna get a right back in January, you better get the right back that you want. I don't see the point in. I think with the striking situation, we may need 2 strikers. So getting a Gakpo in January and then maybe going for a more superstar striker in the summer might make sense because we do need 2 strikers. You can't go for a cheap right back in January and then go and get another right back in the summer. So this is why we might well end up trying to get by until the summer to buy the right back that we want. But I suppose we'll have to wait and see, won't we? And I certainly think Frimpong is an interesting one. And like I said, That's been mentioned by Plettigol, who is a German-based journalist, who also, and the headline of the show, is interested in Caicedo. He says that Manchester United are prepared to bid for Caicedo, very interested in Caicedo. So if you don't know who he is, it would be another attempt from Manchester United to buy him, because we were very heavily linked to him, 2 years ago with Solskjaer? I remember it was around this sort of time. We were meant to be getting Caicedo from the Ecuadorian League for about 4 million quid. And we were very, very much expected to get him, and then United decided not to do it. Obviously, he ended up going to Brighton. He didn't play straight away. They sort of nurtured him through, and now he's replaced Basuma, and he's playing very well in the World Cup. But more importantly, he's playing very well for Brighton in a team that's doing very, very well. So Caicedo has become the player that many people hoped he might come if United bought him when we were heavily linked to him. And instead of getting a player for 4 million quid. As Catherine says, I remember that, Mark, instead of getting a player for 4 million quid, we might be paying 50 or 60 million pounds for him now. I mean, look, we can't hark back to the past. Manchester United are trying to move into a new direction, whether it's through new ownership or whether it's through Erik ten Hag not being Solskjaer. But we did have an opportunity to get hold of him, and obviously we didn't do it. Do I like the idea of Caicedo? I've got to say that the fact that we're being linked to him now, I actually think this is brilliant. And look, let me just bring Casemiro in when we speak about Caicedo. I think Neymar said after the game yesterday that Casemiro has been the best defensive midfielder in the world for a long time now. And I mean, look, his goal yesterday was brilliant, but the difference he's made to our side, he is amazing. For me, he was probably man of the match in the Champions League final against Liverpool. He shut them down completely. To have a player like Casemiro in that midfield is unbelievable after all the years of not having a player like that. And, this is where fan opinion is so important, because we've been talking about needing a holding midfielder for years and years and years, and numerous United managers, especially the Solskjaer era, decided against it. And we bring one in and it changes the way we play. I mean, football's so simple sometimes, isn't it? And now we've got this holding midfielder that is just so good and makes us so much better. And you see him running the show for Brazil, who are the favourites for the World Cup, arguably. We have solved that problem, but of course we haven't solved the problem, because what if he gets injured? He's also into his 30s now, so you've got to look at, yes, Casemiro's brilliant, and I think what the sort of manager Erik ten Hag is, he's not just that manager who goes, oh, I've got a brilliant player, let's hope they can play every minute of every game, which is impossible. I think Erik ten Hag will be fully aware that, yes, Casemiro is brilliant, but if he doesn't play, I've got to play McTominay or Fred, who are a massive drop-off. So I think that the links to people like Bellingham and Caicedo are really encouraging, because if you did have Caicedo, he'd be a very good alternative to Casemiro. I mean, you could play them both if you were playing Man City or someone like that, or you're in Europe or in the Champions League playing away. You could probably play both of them, and I think they'd work really well together. But obviously as well, if Casemiro starts to drop off in the next couple of years because of age or injury or whatever, you've got Caicedo who can just do that role. So I really like the idea of Caicedo. Yes, we could have bought him a couple of years ago, but would we have developed him like Brighton did? That's the thing. I think we would under Ten Hag, but I don't think we would have done under Solskjaer. So we are where we are, and it is what it is. I quite like this story from Plettigol that United are in for Caicedo. We heard that we liked Caicedo, I think, last summer. We've been linked to him quite consistently for 12 months now. And Liverpool like him as well. The issue you've got with this is, and it comes back to the ownership, doesn't it? A lot of people say, well, let's go and get Enzo Fernandez. We've missed the boat on Enzo Fernandez. We should have bought Enzo Fernandez last year when Ralf Rangnick said there's this player in Argentina that you should go and get. Alvarez and Enzo Fernandez. Ralf Rangnick told the club, those two players you should go and get. We got neither of them. They're both playing for Argentina in the World Cup. Enzo Fernandez is playing for Benfica and he's tearing it up. And Alvarez is now a Man City player. And we didn't get any of them because the club didn't listen. And now you miss out on those players. And Enzo Fernandez will leave Benfica, but he's already been linked to Real Madrid. So unless we get a new owner in and compete with Real Madrid, we won't get Enzo Fernandez. We've missed the boat. And we can't keep missing the boat. And if Liverpool miss the boat with Bellingham, they'd probably go for Caicedo, and they probably can get him over us at the moment. But if we get the new owners in and we keep developing under Ten Hag, then maybe next summer we can do that. So I like the links to Caicedo, but what I would say is it's not a January deal, it's one for the summer. And some of our interest has to be about the summer as well. So I do like the interest in Caicedo, but I think it would have to be a summer deal. But I do think we need to bring another midfielder in. I have to see what happens with Wan-Bissaka. He'll probably go on loan in January and will probably pay 100% more than what Brighton paid. Paid, says Reese. Apparently, Fulham and Crystal Palace are interested in taking Aaron Wan-Bissaka on loan. And even if we got Caicedo under Wally, he would have got rotten on the bench, says Michael. I agree with you. And Daniel, welcome to the Members Club. And Jamie says, Caicedo is a baller. He's just 20. He's going to be world class by the time he's 24 and he'd be a great signing. I think we've got to get ourselves into that equation, Jamie. I think we do. And do you think players like Bruno Maguire will bring their World Cup form back to the club? And if they did, will this affect our next transfer window? Says Only Pockerman. Well, look, I was going to do this anyway, and I suppose I will do it now. In relation to Manchester United and what's going on with the January transfer window and what we're discussing here, Caicedo interest is there from Manchester United, but it can't be developed until the summer. Caicedo will stay playing for Brighton until the summer, and then you've got to make your move. And that's when Man United should be going for Caicedo in the summer. It'd be a brilliant summer signing, and let's hope that we do something about that. With the striking position, whether it's Gakpo or whoever, we're going to do that in January. And with the right-back situation, we probably do it in January, or we could push it to the summer. So that's where we are. You know, Frimpong could happen in January, could happen in the summer. Caicedo would be summer. Gakpo would be January. And I think that's the best way of explaining it. Morning, Mark. We need deputies for Eriksen and Casemiro. Thoughts on Subamendi and Gravenberch in the summer? Might be cheaper than Caicedo, says James Cave. And are you worried that 6 players are free in June, says SK United? Not really. And in relation to the question from James about going for alternatives to Caicedo, I don't think any United fan wants to lock in or lock down on one player. I think we're quite comfortable to have options. I mean, nobody thought we were going to buy Malacia, and no one thought we were going to buy Casemiro. And we ended up going for Casemiro because De Jong fell through. So I don't mind if we don't get Caicedo. I trust Ten Hag to go and find somebody else, and I think Gravenberch would be a very good signing. I think he's stalled his career going to Bayern Munich, hasn't he? I mean, in fairness to Van Gaal, he didn't want Timber to go to Manchester United, and he doesn't pick him anyway. And he did sort of say he wants his players to be playing first-team football, and Gravenberch going from Ajax to Bayern Munich looked like a good idea, but actually it was probably too big a step too soon. I think Gravenberch would have been better off staying at Ajax for another year, or maybe stepping stone to Bayern Munich, because ultimately he's not getting any game time, is he? And I do like Gravenberch, and I would have liked Gravenberch to come to Manchester United, but I think at the time, and maybe even still, he's a Mino Raiola client, so it made it very, very difficult. But as long as we've got lots of different options, I mean, the fact that we're being linked to a midfielder for me is really, really positive, because I think if you said to me what areas, and I'd be interested to see what you think, what areas do you think Manchester United need to improve on? I think we know we need a striker and we know we need a right back. I really think we need another midfielder and we need another centre back. And even when you get those 4 in, you need to go again. It's why new ownership's so important, because if you take the £200 million we spent in the summer, I still think we need to spend another 500 million to compete with Man City or Liverpool or Chelsea or Arsenal, or whoever you think's competing for the title. I think we need another 500 million. Because I think that's how far behind we've made ourselves over the last 10 years, and we definitely need another centre-back. Hi Mark, we missed the boat with Caicedo. Brighton will force us to overpay, says Jared. And morning Mark, can you imagine new owners fully backing Ten Hag? It would be fantastic to see. Well, I want to talk about Sir Jim in a minute and why he's the favourite to buy Manchester United, but there's a couple of things I want to just pick up on there from people's chats. First of all, we could have got Caicedo for 5 million. We could have got Bellingham. Both players made the right choice not coming to United. We would not have developed Caicedo and Bellingham the way that Brighton and Dortmund have. So their careers are better off not coming to United. I don't think there's any part of me that goes, I wish we'd got Caicedo and I wish we'd got Bellingham, because I do, but look at what they've done. They made the right choice. And if we have to pay 50 million for Caicedo or 100 million for Bellingham to bring them back, there'll be better players for more money than they would have been if we'd got them, because we wouldn't have developed them under Solskjaer. No way. We wouldn't. We don't develop players until now. We've only started developing players in the last 4 months, and Caicedo and Bellingham were linked to us 1 and 2 years ago. So they made the right choice there. The other thing about the World Cup, I've always said this about the Euros. If you've been watching long enough, I'll have said it about the Euros twice and the World Cup before. international football is not a gauge for players coming back and playing well for Manchester United. Kevin De Bruyne is shit in international football, and he's one of the world's best players in the Champions League and the Premier League. And it works the other way as well. International football is lower standard than the Premier League or the Champions League by quite a long way. And there's two big reasons for it. One, in the Premier League, you train with your players every day and you play 2 or 3 times a week. And the chemistry and rhythm means that the football is much better. And two, the game is a lot slower in the international scene than it is in the Premier League or the Champions League. So just because you do well in the international football doesn't mean that you're going to do well in domestic football. And certain players suit international football better because it's slower. And they might suit the system that their national team manager uses. I think Bruno Fernandes is an interesting one because I've watched Bruno, and his role is not dissimilar to the role that he should be doing for Manchester United. So, look, you can definitely take a lot of confidence from it. There's a rumour that Rashford's going to start for England tonight. He's a player in form. I think what you can take from the World Cup is confidence. What you can take from the confidence is back to your club. So if Bruno has a good World Cup, I don't think he's had a great last nearly year for Manchester United. Bruno's form started to drop off around January, didn't it? Let's be honest. So it'd be good to get Bruno coming back and feeling good. Same for Marcus Rashford and every other player. But the downside of it is fatigue. You know, as well as Bruno's playing at the moment, if Portugal go all the way to the final, he's played, what? How many games do you play? 7 games in the space of, what, 3.5 weeks? And then he comes back to Man United and goes into 3 games a week till May. So fatigue is going to be a problem. I think whatever we get in form and confidence will be eroded by fatigue by February. And that's going to be a problem for everybody. But I tell you what, I mean, I saw something yesterday where people were saying that Manchester United are rocking this World Cup. And Manchester United players generally are. I mean, Casemiro's been brilliant in both Brazil games. Absolutely brilliant. Bruno's been brilliant in both of the Portugal games. You've got Varane playing well for France. Maguire, as mentioned, played well. Luke Shaw, I thought Luke Shaw was man of the match against USA for England. I know we were crap, but I thought he played well. I mean, there's a rumour that Luke Shaw might get dropped to put Trippier at left back. I don't know what that's all about. I thought Luke Shaw played really, really well. I'm trying to think of any other players that I'm missing out on because there's a few. Martinez, brilliant for Argentina. I thought he was brilliant for Argentina against Mexico. So there's a lot of United players doing really well. But as important are people like Martial, David De Gea, Jadon Sancho, Scott McTominay. You know, these players are really important as well because they're getting a full rest. And you know, the best player of Manchester United, I'd say the standout player for Manchester United at the moment, and I agree with Wazza in the chat, is my Manchester United player of the World Cup so far is probably Cody Gakpo. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Tim says Shaw was shocking. A few people saying Fred. Did you see Fred yesterday? Did you see Fred get booked yesterday? It was the quintessential Fred of first touches tried to control it. Second touch is a yellow card. I saw the yellow card, but I don't know whether he miscontrolled the first touch. But somebody said that he did. But look, Fred's Fred. I mean, you've got to put some credit on his name. Rangnick liked him. Solskjaer liked him. Ten Hag likes him. His national coach likes him. He starts ahead of people like Bruno Guimaraes, which for me would make no sense. So look, you've got to put some credit on Fred's name. I mean, he's a very limited footballer at times, but he can be very effective as well. Like he's a funny footballer, Fred. He does, you know, he can pull a pass out and he can make a tackle that makes him look like world class, and then he miscontrols it like he's playing, you know, in a pub team. He's a funny old player, Fred. But you know, somebody just said there about renewal of contracts. I presume you're talking about Rashford, De Gea, Luke Shaw, Fred, Delot. Well, Delot's getting a new contract. Rashford's getting a new contract. I'd give De Gea a new contract. I'd give Shaw a new contract. But Fred, I'd probably let go. And the reason I'd let Fred go is for what I've just said there. He's got good points. He's got bad points. He's 30. I'd be letting him go to bring Caicedo in. And I'd be saying, thank you very much. Wish you all the best. He'll smile as he walks off anyway. And he can go off and finish his career somewhere and play regularly. And we lose a midfielder to bring a next generation midfielder in, because the problem with Fred is, if Eriksen's injured, is Fred anywhere near as good? No. If Casemiro's injured, is Fred anywhere near as good? No. Fred's basically good to bring on for the last 20 minutes for a bit of energy, or he's good to start in the Carabao Cup, but he's not good to start if Caicedo or Eriksen are, if Casemiro or Eriksen are injured. So I would be a bit ruthless. Apostle, I've got to shout out Pellistri. There was many people, I was doing a watch along last night on That's Football, and there's many people who were confused by Pellistri's lack of minutes for Manchester United, because he came on for Uruguay last night, and I don't know whether you watched it, and for the first 5-10 minutes I was like, get the ball to Pellistri, get the ball to Pellistri, because and the funny thing is, I think if he'd have come on and I didn't even know he played for Manchester United and he was playing for a Uruguayan team, I'd be saying he looks good, he looks a prospect. He faded a bit after that. I wanted to bring Pellistri into the show for a couple of minutes. Downfall says Pellistri shout out. I think he showed glimpses of a really talented player, but then he showed glimpses of a lack of physicality. And I was trying to figure it out, and we were talking about it on the watch along on That's Football, and I said, I was trying to figure out why Ten Hag's not giving him any time, and yet Alanga's had loads of time. Now, I like Alanga. I think he should be on loan in the Championship, but he's not ready to play in the Premier League, and he doesn't do anything. I don't think Alanga's done anything in a United shirt of note for about 9 months. And I'm like, so okay, Alanga, I like Alanga. I don't think he's quite ready. I think he needs to be on loan in the Championship, but he's getting all the minutes and Pellistri's getting none. And that confuses me a little bit. And then I thought, well, I think it's down to physicality. Alanga actually is quite physical and athletic, whereas Pellistri, even when he came on for Uruguay yesterday, is good when he's got the ball running at the defender. But when he's got to have a 50-50 to try and win it back, he's a bit lightweight. And I was like, maybe that's why he's not getting game time. And this is where I would say, I think if Pellistri was coming through at Man City, he would work. Because if you look at Man City, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, even Gundogan, they've got a lot of players with a low centre of gravity. They had Raheem Sterling there as well. I think Pellistri is probably struggling at United because of his physicality. Because if I said to you, who was the last regular starter for United who is small? Even Juan Mata never really used to start, did he? So I just wonder whether Pellistri doesn't have the physicality that United want, because we are quite obsessed with height. You know, we've seen it with McTominay, Maguire, Casemiro's tall, Ronaldo. We always like to have a few, physical players in there, and maybe that's why Pellistri's not getting game time, and maybe that's right. Maybe he's not physical enough for the Premier League yet, but I think he's a very good technical player, and I could see him coming on in the last 20 minutes for Man City and just being involved in little tiki-taka gives and goes. He's got that sort of low centre of gravity. I think there's a player there. I don't think we're going to utilise him at Manchester United, though. I was pleased to see Jadon Sancho training alone with the coach. Erik ten Hag suggested in Holland. There is a player in there. Hopefully we can unlock it, says Charlie. Yeah, I agree with that. And Sorma says, let's be honest, Pellistri isn't good enough. There's got to be a reason why he's not getting game time. Times End says, heightist. Yeah, I don't pick the teammate. I would have given him some more time. I mean, Fading Ghost says, same goes for Ahmad. Yeah, I mean, we've seen glimpses from Ahmad, we've seen glimpses from Pellistri, but we've not seen opportunities in a United shirt. And I just wonder whether there is a legacy thing at Manchester United that we're still obsessed with physicality, which was a Solskjaer thing. Is Ten Hag a manager that likes smaller players? I don't know. You'd have to go back through his career at Ajax. I'm trying to think of standout small players. How big was Tadic? But look, that might be it. But he showed some glimpses. Dublin Sovereign Wealth Fund says the Dublin Sovereign Wealth Fund is still one of the favourites to win the bid for Manchester United. There is a slight setback with final negotiations with cutting Joel Glazer's ponytail off. Stay tuned. Thank you very much for that. Which brings us nicely on to something I did want to talk. Brandon says, what players will United buy in January? I don't have the information on that, Brandon. If I did, I'd be, a very, very knowledgeable man on what Manchester United are going to do. But my prediction will always be that we go for, if you want a prediction, I think we'll go for Gakpo. That's my opinion on that. Whether it comes to fruition or not? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Brandon says, do you think Pellistri is similar to Garnacho? No, I think there are similarities in the fact that they're South American and their ability to glide past players, but I think Garnacho is more athletically set up for the Premier League than Pellistri, who is a little bit more lightweight. But that doesn't mean he can't be used. It doesn't mean I wouldn't use him. I'm just trying to find reasons why he's not been given any minutes. He's been on the bench quite a lot and he's never been given any game times, which is a little bit of a concern, isn't it? Anyway, let's just have a quick chat about the ownership of Manchester United. I tell you what, I will bring it in and I'll say what it is. I'd almost class this, and it might be unfair, it might be on the nose, but I'd almost class this as real fans want Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I don't know whether you've been reading and listening and watching things, because I certainly do. And I've actually heard a couple of journalists actually type it or say it, that match-going, paying fans, real fans, want Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And I'm like, I'm going to bring that into a show, because I'm like, are we really going to go down that road again? Are we really going to go down that road again of what a real fan is, and match-going fans no more than non-match-going fans, and paying fans no more? I just think, I think we will end up going down that road. I do think we'll end up going down that road. And I think it's a road that's going to be fraught with tension and division, because everybody wants the Glazers out. It doesn't matter whether you like that United fan or like that United fan, or they don't like you. Everyone wants the Glazers out, so everyone's together on it. But when it comes to the ownership, not everybody wants what you want, and not everybody wants what I want. And, some people are making their mind up already. And I think that... I think it's going to be really interesting, because, you look around and the fan favourite is apparently Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and that's with the people who are the real fans, apparently. But I don't get that. I don't get that. I think what you're getting is what the media wants. And we had this with Eric Ten Hag, and the media didn't want Ten Hag, and the fans did. And I would use the Ten Hag thing as an example here. If we'd gone with the media, or the top Reds, or the ex-players, or whatever inoffensive name people want to brand people as match-going fans or season ticket holders, or it's a nonsense. It's a nonsense. I remember a few years ago people used to say, no real fan watches the United stand, no season ticket holder watches the United stand. And it's obviously, of course, it's bollocks. They might not admit it, but loads do. And I think a lot of people do admit it now, because those days are sort of moved past of this toxic negativity about, fans having an opinion. But I think there's a lot of United fans and a lot of people in the media who've decided that the best option for Manchester United is Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and their voice should be listened to, and it's completely immoral to go down the road of what Man City have done, and that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is the best one to go for because he's from the area, he supports the club, and he's got the best interest of the club at heart, so therefore he's the best owner, which may well be the case. But how can somebody sit there and say Sir Jim Ratcliffe's the best person to take over United when they've got no idea about what he wants to do with the club? You've got no idea of what his wealth is to go into the club. You've got no idea what his bid is. You've got no idea what his plan is for the next 5 years. What if Sir Jim Ratcliffe's plan was to buy Manchester United and make it sustainable over the next 10 years with fan ownership and community-led football club like the good old days? But we won't win anything, because we won't be able to compete with the clubs that have got, a pipeline of money coming through. Is that the best owner? Well, some people will say it is, but I guarantee you a lot of people will say that it isn't. So I do think that the ownership at the moment is a dangerous conversation, because there are fans out there that have decided, I want this no matter what, but they don't know what this is offering. And I don't want that no matter what, but they don't know what they're offering. And I think I'm going to stay consistent with this. I like the idea of a Sir Jim Ratcliffe taking over Man United, because I like the idea of the club being owned by a United fan who cares about the club. But I'm also not naive enough to think, well, yeah, that's what I want, when I don't know what they're actually going to do. And I'm also not naive enough to count everybody else out because they might be an investment or they might be money from the Middle East. I think that I'm just going to keep an open mind on it and see what happens. But I think the dangerous thing is that we're already starting to see what many of us predicted we would see, where people are sort of dictating what's best for real United fans. And I don't like real United fans. I like United fans. I don't believe in real United fans. And I think I speak to a lot of people. And obviously Kev at the weekend was saying it. Look, ideally, I'd like someone like Sir Jim Ratcliffe to take over the club. But it's the depth of what's behind that. You know, if somebody's offering to me American owners or Middle East owners or Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and I've got to choose, I probably would go Sir Jim Ratcliffe because I know he's a United fan and I know he cares about the club. But I don't want to make that choice without full details of each bid, because actually the US investment bid might be better. They might say for 10 years we're going to pump in £500 million a year. And in 10 years' time, we'll look at what we're worth and we might sell it. But, you know, that might not be a bad 10 years for us. So, yeah, I think we need to know what the plan is. Nice haven't won anything since Sir Jim Ratcliffe took over. What makes it true that he will bring us a success, says Justin. Yeah, but Justin, did Nice ever win anything? The sale worries me. I'm willing to wait as long as it takes to get the correct owner, says Charlie. Even if it takes a year, we have one shot at this. I hate this match going fans are real fans, because what happens if don't live in Manchester or can't go? All fans of Manchester United are real fans, says Ray. I don't care who buys the club so long as their intentions for the club and the fans is to make United competitive for the elite in world football, says Ian. And if Jim buys United, what happens to Nice? Surely you can't financially support both 100%, says David Fisher. And Graham says, hi Mark, I love the channel. Sorry if this sounds a bit thick. Do you think if Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid fails, he joins forces with a Dubai or US wealthy buyer and we still get a responsible owner but with wealthy, super wealthy backing, says Graham? I think that's a great point by Graham. I mean, this is why I refuse to start going, I want that, I want that, I don't want that, I don't want that, I do want that, I don't want that. Because what if Sir Jim Ratcliffe joins up with the Dubai model? You know, you're going to get a lot of people having to flip-flop then, because these people who are like, I don't want anything to do with money from oil because it's immoral, there's human rights, this, that and the other. I want Sir Jim. And then what if Sir Jim and Dubai join forces? Well, I do want that now. So this is what I mean. You can make yourself look a complete hypocrite by jumping too soon. I said this yesterday. Don't jump into the water until you know what's in the water. And I think some people are already doing that. I've seen journalists do that. I'm seeing, you know, ex-players doing that. I'm seeing some of our fans do that. They're jumping into the pool and they don't know what's in there. Like, you might be jumping into a pool full of crocodiles. Like, we've just got to wait and see what happens. And also, we don't know what control we're going to have. But I sense that it's almost like people are trying to wind the fan base up to start protesting about things we don't know what we're protesting about. It's almost like, we don't want US ownership, we don't want Middle East ownership, we only want Sir Jim. And why would you start getting angry or motivated to protest about something when you don't really know what the options are at the moment? And as Charlie said, it could take a year. It could be a really long process. I mean, we've had a lot of news in the space of a week. It was a week ago that this came out, and we've had a lot of things. We've had Apple, we've had, you know, I'm surprised we haven't had Elon Musk yet, but he's probably got his hands tied up with Twitter. But yeah, there's been a lot going on in a week, but it might die down a bit with the January transfer window and United coming back playing. It might become, you know, we get a little bit of news in 2 months, and then 2 months after that, the Glazers might not sell the club for 18 months. They might do it we might hear something next week. So I think we've got to be patient. For me, whether it's, you know, the big question for me is that Charlie got it right as well. We want to get this right. We want to get the next owner right. Of course we do. Whether we've got any say in it or not, we want to get it. We want to get it right. But is there any ownership model out there that's worse than what we've got? Is there anything that's worse than being in debt? Is there anything that's worse than owners taking £30 million out in dividends a year? Is there anything worse than having, you know, crap CEOs and directors of footballers who just waste money on crap players with crap, you know, massive wages? Most models out there are going to be better than what we've got. Of course, we want the best, but it's also worth mentioning that even if, and look, you know, I don't want this, but even if we did end up by, like Chelsea, which is, you know, Todd Bowley with a big investment fund behind him, they are spending money. They are trying to, they want a new stadium. They do want to win the league. They do want to win the Champions League. That model the Chelsea model would still be better than what we've had for 17 years. So I'm quite relaxed because I think no matter what, we will be in a better situation without the Glazers anyway. Of course, I want the very, very best situation, but I think I'm not completely closed off to everything because, one, I don't know whether we'll have any say in it anyway, and two, I think nearly everybody who bids for United is going to be better. I think, in fact, I would say this: everybody who bids for United is going to be better for United than the Glazers are. So, yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I still think we'll end up with US investment. Yeah, I do. Would you want Elon Musk, says Dan. He says it'd be a bit of a circus. I think the Twitter situation's become a bit of a circus, and he likes to spend time talking socially, doesn't he? I don't know whether that would be the right... I mean, God, he's rich. He is rich. I mean, would you turn that down for United? But if he run United like he runs Twitter, we'd have Twitter polls about who we're signing. I mean, could you imagine Elon Musk in charge of Manchester United? We would. We'd have. I'm thinking of buying this striker. Who do you want? Haaland, Mbappe, or should we go for Benzema? Let's do a Twitter poll. I mean, imagine we'd break the internet with the Twitter polls, but yeah, it does feel a little bit like that. But what do you think about the Ronaldo goal? I would claim it if I was Ronaldo as well. So I've got no problem with Ronaldo trying to claim that. Apparently he's going to appeal to FIFA because it did brush his hair. I mean, at the end of the day, what was it he said a couple of weeks ago in that interview? Records don't chase me. I don't chase records. Records chase me. Well, he really wants that goal, doesn't he? And maybe he's chasing records himself a bit now. I don't blame him. He deserves an assist at least, because if he doesn't go for that, the keeper probably catches it. I thought it was his goal, then I thought it was Bruno's goal, and now I think it might just brush his hair. If it had a different hairstyle, I don't think it was his goal, but I think it does brush his hair. I mean, look, at the end of the day, he has a big part in the goal. I don't think he knows whether he touches it or not. He probably felt he might have touched it. But it's the strikers' club. You can't be critical of a striker trying to claim a goal. That's what they do. That's what they do. To be honest, though, I actually thought Ronaldo played quite well yesterday. I thought he played one of his best games of the season. And I've obviously watched every game for him this season. And, massive fan of him. And I don't think he's been anywhere near what he was like last season. But I actually thought yesterday he played quite well. And they're into the knockout stages now, Portugal. And I can see... We're getting to that point now, aren't we, where... I said before, if you get to the semi-finals, we won't see those players playing in the semi-finals play for Man United against Forest on Boxing Day, on the 27th. So we're getting to that point now where over the next week or so, how many United players are going to get knocked out before the semi-finals and will be back to play for United over Christmas? I'm not actually driven by that. I don't want to see Brazil knocked out or France knocked out or Argentina or England knocked out, but they can't all go to the semi-finals, can they? Anyway, look, we are back at 2 o'clock. We've got Fabrizio Romano on the show at 2 o'clock. We'll be going through all the latest Manchester United news. We'll be opening up with obviously talking about Gakpo. We'll see what happens with that. But thank you everybody for watching. Make sure you smash the like and subscribe. In relation to World Cup watch-alongs, you don't need to worry about that on That's Football. We're not live there till 3 o'clock, which will be after our 2 o'clock show with Fabrizio, which is live. So thanks everyone for watching. Take care, and I'll speak to you all in a bit.